Ever wonder exactly how to create and distribute a video that goes viral? With almost 700,000 subscribers and average views of 3.9 million, YouTube creator Sean's Crafts reveals his top secrets for you in CreatorDB. How to brainstorm content, what makes his channel stand out on the platform, and which essential metrics to consider so that YouTube will recommend your videos. Watch it now, and don't forget to check his key statistics and information about his channel in the links.
Hey, Sean. Thanks for joining today. I really appreciate you getting some time to talk to us and sort of tell us a bit more about your channel, Sean's Crafts, sort of your experiences with the channel and where you want to be headed in the future.
Yeah, it's an honor being here. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So just I'll let you introduce yourself. You can sort of tell us a bit about your channel, a bit about the cardboard behind the creations, and a little bit about how you got into this pursuit.
Yeah, for sure. So ever since a young age, I was always into crafting. I remember the first time I got introduced to like cardboard crafting was this channel on YouTube. He's this guy, he goes by the name Epic Fantasy, and he's still active today actually, which is kind of cool. And so he makes like cardboard props and cardboard swords and daggers and shields and weapons. And I got super inspired. And so my mom is actually kind of like, she likes to keep a lot of junk. She's a little bit of a hoarder. So my house has a lot of junk. And so I used all those materials. I got really into crafting. And so, yeah, then little did I know that it would turn into something this big. And so today I run a YouTube channel, Sean's Crafts, and I make working props almost, like web shooters, Captain America shield, Iron Man helmet, and just any kind of armor and props related to like movies and TV shows. So
is this your full-time pursuit? Do you do content creation as a full-time passion? Because it seems like you have the skills of an engineer. Were you ever formally trained as your profession in some type of engineering, or is YouTube the focus?
So I was in school for a bit, like right after high school, I went straight to university, and believe it or not, after like less than 2 months, I dropped out. It's a bit of like a cliche YouTube story. I just kind of didn't really feel like I belonged, and so I gave myself like a year to just pursue YouTube and see where it goes. And fortunately, things turned out the way they did, and so here we are today.
So that must mean that you're self-taught for a lot of these aspects. I was seeing on your channel that you have some videos that are ranging from even 6-7 years ago of different cardboard crafts. And so how did you teach yourself? Is this a lot of online methodologies, or was this something that your parents were also involved in? Did you have friends, or was there any other way of learning?
Right. Yeah. Right. I don't know. I think I just kind of, like you said, a lot of it was just self-taught. I mean, like I said earlier, like my mom had a lot of cardboard boxes and junk and all that. And so I would just turn those into crafts. And so I had a lot of phases in between, like in my teens. I had a phase where I made duct tape wallets and purses and like little accessories. And I kind of always had like an entrepreneurial mindset, I guess you could say. Like I was known as that kid that would sell wallets. Like I would make the wallets, and I would have people request like certain designs, and I'd make these really elaborate like accessories and sell them. As a kid, I was like 11 or 12 at the time. And so I don't know, a lot of to answer your question, a lot of this was just kind of self-taught, I guess.
What was the intrigue that you had that kind of pushed you to start creating content surrounding this passion?
I think, well, the first video I published was in 2012, actually. I have a whole catalog of videos that are privated. I think the first video I posted, it's not on YouTube anymore, but it was like a contest entry, because at the time there was like a whole community of crafters, and there would be like contests, and you could win prizes if like your crafts were really good. So I entered I started a YouTube channel so I could enter the contest, and then I guess I just fell in love with it. Like there's something about, filming and, just like, filming crafts and showing people how to do it. That it's just like the whole content creation process. There's something about that that's just really appealing to me. So, yeah.
Does it still feel like you're having fun? Doesn't feel like too much of a job?
Yeah, it's kind of weird to me that I've been doing it for so long. Like it just never gets old, and it's like, yeah, it's just yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that everybody has witnessed some of their favorite YouTubers, sort of the mentality you can see when it starts to become more of a job than a passion. But
Mm.
you know, whenever I'm watching your videos, whenever I'm seeing your introductions, you always seem so excited to sort of show off something that you created. So since you've been on YouTube a while, I'm curious, how do you think that the maker community on YouTube has shifted from your original contest entry days to, you know, your latest videos? Because the platform has undergone massive shifts, and I would be curious to hear your perspective specifically in like the maker space.
I think before, I mean, like in the early days of YouTube, because like I said, I've been on YouTube since like 2012. I think subscribers really mattered back then. You know, if you had a lot of subscribers, that usually meant like a lot of views. But I think the platform has shifted a lot now. I think thumbnails and titles are really important because there's just so much competition now, and so just coming specifically in the maker space, I think just coming up with great ideas that people want to see, coming up with like that great thumbnail idea or that great title idea is really important. And like even for me, like before I even make a video, before I even press record, I typically, generally speaking, I already have like an idea of what the thumbnail is going to be, what the title is going to be, because YouTube has become so competitive now, as
Mm.
opposed to before. And yeah, I think that's one thing that's really shifted is just the competition and title, thumbnails, and getting really good ideas.
Yeah, I'm curious. Do you think you could split down what you think the importance is in for the three following categories, and you can sort of say the percentages of how they make up a successful viral video? Because you've had a few videos go quite viral, getting 5, 6, 7 million views. So we have title, we have thumbnail, and the actual content. Could you break down sort of percentages of in 2021 what you think is the level of importance for each of those?
Off the top of my head, I would say thumbnail is probably, I'd say like, I don't know, 50%, or maybe 40%. Titles probably like 20%, and then content maybe 40%.
Hmm.
Another
So the
40.
thumbnail is quite important. I was looking at your videos, and I noticed about 9 to 12 months ago there was you shifted to like one specific style of thumbnail. What inspired that shift? Was there another YouTuber that you were watching? How did you sort of land on that stylistic format for your thumbnails?
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to keep my thumbnails kind of plain, easy to read, easy to understand, clear. It pops out, and I guess I sort of developed that style from just looking at what was already working on the platform. You know, I just if you look at any successful thumbnail, generally speaking, there's exceptions, of course, but generally speaking, the thumbnail has to be like concise, not too many, not cluttered with words, plain, easy to understand, clear, and so I think for me, I'm not even like a pro like graphic designer or anything. I just use Canva even till this day. It's like a free software, free website, and so for all my thumbnails, I'll sort of increase the saturation a little bit, increase the contrast, over sharpen the image, because when you're looking at on a small screen like that, you want to make sure that the image is like over sharpened, even if it looks like weird when you're looking at it in full screen. When it's like shrinked down like that on the phone, it should look, it should pop.
Mm-hmm.
I like to over sharpen.
Do you
And
actually preview the thumbnail at sort of like mobile sizes before you publish it?
yes, that's correct. I always like to look at it as if I'm like seeing it for the first time in like a small, tiny little square. Yeah.
And so you said you were using Canva. Yeah, I'm familiar. It's a great tool for designers who aren't designers. And you do all this process yourself, the graphic design, sort of the deciding of the thumbnail, deciding of the title. Is there any process that you offload, or do you handle all of your editing and idea generation, all of your building? Is that all handled by you?
Yeah, at the moment, yes. I would love to delegate because I'm sort of like I've kind of had to be like a jack of all trades. I'm not really good at, like for example, graphic design. I'm like really not a graphic designer. So at this moment, I do everything myself, but it would be awesome if I could eventually find someone that can do it better than me. So editing, thumbnails, filming, production, all of that is done by me. So
Yeah, because you're I noticed like your videos come out extremely high quality. When did you start to invest in sort of the higher end hardware that was required for that higher end production quality?
I must have been around like maybe, I don't know, 20,000 subscribers, 15, 20,000 subscribers because I actually got to like, I think I got to like 10,000 or so subscribers using just my phone. And then
Wow. Wow.
I think I got my first camera, like first DSLR camera around 10,000 subscribers, or it might have been 7,000 subscribers. And then I leveled up to a mirrorless camera around 20,000, I think. So yeah.
Is that the one that you're still using now?
Yeah, actually, I think like I really could like it really wouldn't be like I really could afford to upgrade, but I'm kind of a noob to be honest. So I use like I'm kind of reluctant to upgrade to higher end gear because there's just too many features. Like I like to have something that works, that looks pretty good, is decent, and that is really, has autofocus and that I can just kind of plug and play. Even my microphone is like a $100 USB microphone that I got on Amazon and I still use it to this day. So
If it works, it works.
yeah.
I mean, looking at your content, the production quality kind of stands out a bit. So I'm a bit surprised to hear that that's sort of what's going on behind the scenes. So talking about the content creation process and sort of the editing and everything, an important part of that and an important part of having a chance at virality is brainstorming content ideas. You're saying that you observe what other YouTubers are doing that kind of influenced your stylistic choices when it came to thumbnails. When you're actually deciding on what content that you want to make for the video, are you also looking at trends? Do you sort of have a backlog of ideas? Is there a research process, or does it just kind of flow naturally?
Yeah. So with my ideas, when I'm brainstorming ideas, what I like to do is, because I don't like to reinvent, I don't want to reinvent the wheel and do something that's never been done before. Generally, I look for ideas that kind of have been done before and try to put my own spin on them. So things that have already kind of had proof of concept. So for example, like the web shooters that I do, they're not that's not a new thing. The Spider-Man with the eye moving lenses is not a new thing by any means. It's just that I've kind of found a way to kind of do it differently. Does that make sense? Um,
Would
yeah.
you say that one of your big difference makers is the accessibility of the crafts that you make? Is that something that you try to focus on?
For sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's tons of really like amazing inventors out there, like the Hacksmith, who has like I think well over like 10 million subscribers. But I think the sort of approach that I take is like other sort of bigger channels will create like real working prototypes, like like a real Captain America shield or something like that. But I like to kind of make like a craft version or like a like an accessory, like one that you can make with cardboard. And I think that's the appeal because if you watch someone like the Hacksmith, you're like, that's really cool. But that's just entertainment. Like I can't, I can't
Mm.
make that. I don't have the resources. But when you watch, something like my channel, my hope is that it inspires people. It's like, oh, that's cool. Like I could make that with just some cardboard and paint and yeah. So
Do you often, I noticed that you do upload a lot of your templates and things that you use to actually make your crafts to your video description. So I'm curious, do you often hear from fans of people sort of trying it out for themselves?
yeah, I get like tons of DMs and emails of people always sharing what they made, and I try to reply to everyone who sends me those because it's just like really inspiring to see that, especially with the web shooters. Like I've gotten like hundreds of submissions, and it's really inspiring, and it really motivates me to keep making more, because it's just awesome to see that like I'm just like some kid in my bedroom making crafts, and then I'm seeing hundreds of people around the world recreating them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I think that's an important aspect of audiences of channels like yours, where you kind of have two different groups. You have this sort of core group that are like fans of your content, know who you are, follow your crafts, and maybe participate in trying the crafts themselves. And people that jump on and see it trending or see it going viral and view it through that lens, because when I'm looking at the views from some of your highest videos, it's a 20x multiple from your subscriber counts. And so it's quite interesting. And I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on sort of these two different groups of audiences that you have consuming your content?
Yeah, I think the main goal of my channel really is one of two things: either to inspire you to go out and make your own web shooter or Iron Man helmet or whatever it is, or there's another group of people that will just watch me make stuff for fun, because it's cool to watch the process. And so it's kind of it's almost sometimes a challenge too, to appeal to both sides, because on one hand you have to make the videos like informative enough, educational enough, so that people can actually like make it themselves, but at the same time you kind of have to keep the pace not so slow to the point, like not too detailed to the point where like the average person wouldn't be able to sit through the whole thing.
Do you have like a set schedule of how often you try to upload? It seems like you're uploading about monthly. Is that about correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's kind of abnormal for most content, like most full-time YouTubers. But I think, well, one of the main reasons is like one of the main reasons I wanted to do YouTube full time was so that I could own my time and work when I want and relax when I want, spend time with my family and friends when I want. So I'm young, like I like to enjoy my youth. So I admittedly I spend a lot of time outside of YouTube. That's not to say that like a lot of hustle and grind and hours get put into the videos, but I'm not always working, I guess you could say. Like I'm not always just, I like to, I'm young, I like to enjoy my youth. So,
Well, I think that's not to interrupt you, but I think
uh,
that's really important. Is I see a lot of young creators kind of pushing themselves into like these daily uploads or weekly uploads, depending on the type of content, and you just see them burn out after 2 or 3 years. I think that I just wanted to pause and sort of like focus on that, because I think that sort of work-life balance is treating YouTube like an actual job and not just a hobby that is getting burned out in a few years. So I think that that is sort of the intelligent long-term approach to that. Was that sort of part of your consideration of, you do really enjoy these projects, but you want to make sure you keep enjoying them and you're enjoying life at the same time?
I don't think daily uploading is as effective as it was before. Like now, because watch time is such an important metric, and engagement. Even like just looking at my channel, you can see even just posting once a month or twice a month is, I think, can be sufficient if your content generates like hundreds of thousands, millions of views. I guess what I'm trying to say is I try to focus on quality over quantity. Yeah. So.
Is there a certain metric that you look for specifically to kind of tell if a video did well beyond views? That's sort of like watch time or retention or like number of subscribers? Is there a specific metric that sort of you prefer to determine the success of a particular video?
I pay very close attention to like the click-through rate and like you said, watch time, audience retention. I think those are really important, and just seeing like where the video is being viewed. Like I think over half of all my views come from the homepage, like the YouTube homepage. So I really try to aim to get recommended. Like I know there's different approaches. Like some people like to, try to get discovered through search. But I really think that that's kind of, generally speaking, it's kind of an outdated method. Like I think now with the homepage, and YouTube's algorithm, it's I try to aim to be recommended. I try to get my videos recommended on the homepage.
So I have two questions about the things you just said. So I'll say them both. And the first one is, when it comes to those metrics that you're looking at, do you have specific benchmarks that you're kind of looking for? Like, are you looking for the average user watching 60% of the video? Is there sort of specific numbers you have in your head that you're aiming for? And also, what actions do you take? Like, how, when you say you try to be on the homepage, what does that process actually look like to you?
First question, sorry, the first question
First
is,
question is about the metrics. Is there a specific benchmarks that you're looking for?
well, with craft videos, it's kind of weird because the retention is a lot lower because you'll have people that just want to see it, see the final result, and then they'll kind of like skip to the end and then just leave. So I think it's a little bit different with craft videos. I think for me, like a good retention, which might sound weird for someone that does well on YouTube, but a good retention for me is like 30% or above 30%, because most people won't watch the entire process of crafting. And in terms of like click-through rate, I try to pay attention to like the first like 48 hours. Above 10% is generally, for me, at least for my channel, not speaking for other channels, but for my channel specifically, I think over 10% would be considered like a successful thumbnail and title and click-through rate.
Okay.
And the second question was, sorry, could you repeat the second question?
Second question is, you were talking about how you're aiming to be on the YouTube homepage as opposed to discovered through YouTube search. So when you're thinking about and planning for appearing on the YouTube homepage, how do you try to ensure that happens?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think the biggest thing is title and thumbnail, and more than that is like how you frame the title and thumbnail. If that makes sense. Like if I title the video something very niche that only like a small amount of people will understand, then it's less likely to get recommended. But if I do something kind of broad that like any Marvel fan or Spider-Man fan or whatever fan can understand, like a lot of my thumbnails are show the web shooter, and then there's a text that says like it shoots. Like anyone can understand that. Whereas if I made like a web shooter and then put some like nuanced text or something that only like a small amount of people would understand, and that wouldn't be as effective. So I try to appeal to people, a large amount of people, through the title and thumbnail, I guess is what I'm saying.
So you look to sort of take us, even if you're creating a craft that could be really loved by a specific fan group, you try to sort of take a step back towards something a bit more generally appealing and easily accessible. Would you say that's kind of the summary?
Yeah, I think, that you got it. That's right.
So to kind of stay with, finding success on YouTube, and talking a bit more about the money side of things, when you're uploading videos monthly, the way that you earn on YouTube must look very different than somebody with daily uploads. When you're uploading monthly, is that you still find yourself in a way to sufficiently support yourself to be a full-time content creator?
Yeah, surprisingly, yeah, actually. I'd really love if I could actually upload like maybe twice a month. I think that would be even better, but even just once a month, at least for the time being. I don't want to get too comfortable because I could views could drop tomorrow, but at least at this point in time, I monetize through Adsense, Patreon, affiliate links, sponsorships. So with that all combined together, it pays pretty well, I would say. Yeah.
I'm glad to hear it. Deserve it. It's great content. And to kind of look at those four paths of earning revenue, I'd be curious, could you break down for me, sort of, if we're looking at an entire pie, how big is each of those pieces? Like, how much does AdSense represent versus brands versus Patreon versus your affiliates? And maybe also talk a bit more about your affiliate links, because I think the way that you do it's very interesting.
Actually, with affiliate links, it's actually quite a small amount, like, because the things that I put in my description for affiliate links, the products are quite cheap, like they're like less than $50 usually. So if someone purchases something, you really only get like, I don't know, like $1 or something. So usually my affiliate revenue comes out to like, I don't know, a couple $100 or so. So it's actually quite small.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if you were like, like a tech channel, I think tech channels do really amazing with affiliate links because they're selling products that are like, I don't know, like $500, $600. But affiliate links are quite small. Patreon is quite small as well because it's just like a thing that I just do kind of on the side. And then the two biggest sources of revenue for me are AdSense and of course brand sponsorships. And though, like generally speaking, the brand sponsorships pay the highest, like that's my largest stream of revenue. But some months where I do like really well, like for example, last month in July, I think my channel got a little over 10 million views, which did really well with AdSense. But
Oh,
that's really rare. Like usually, AdSense will be like maybe half of what brands pay me for brand sponsorships.
and I understand with your partner contract, you can't tell me a specific number here, but I know that the average AdSense revenue is about $1.50 to $2 US per thousand views.
Mhm.
Would you, in relation to that, would you say you're about on par, a little bit higher, lower, much lower?
No, I'm right. Like that's pretty much about it. One, I think I live in Canada, so I'm not sure what it is
Yeah,
in.
it's around that area.
Yeah, but
Okay.
in Canadian dollars, it's like I think a dollar 60 or 70 for on average. Sometimes more, sometimes less, but it averages out usually to a dollar 60 or 70 per thousand views. So
Okay.
it really, honestly, it doesn't really pay that well. So I know this is kind of off topic, but I'd really love to um, build out, maybe make a physical product or digital product or merch
Oh,
because
yeah.
yeah.
I that was my question after my next one, but we can talk about that now. Yeah, I'm curious, like plans for the future. Like, do you have anything in mind? I know that a lot of makers have gone the way of promoting kits or promoting courses and other ways to monetize our merch. Is there a specific thing that you sort of have your eye on?
Yeah, actually, this is not like this is still really really early, but I'm looking to make a web shooter kit or something along those lines. Potentially even like officially licensed by Marvel. But
Wow.
that hasn't really. That's still very early. But eventually, I want to build out some kind of physical product like that because that's just such a hot topic. And there's not really, there really isn't like a web shooter like mine that's like on the market right now. Like I mean, there's like those silly string web shooters or like water gun web shooters, but there's not really like a threat one that shoots like string.
Mm.
So I'd really love to make a kit or something along those lines, and maybe even just like apparel too, because I haven't even done that. Like I haven't done any merch at all. So I think right now I'm kind of leaving a lot on the table, but I am pretty new to this whole YouTube thing. So I would consider myself still like up and coming.
Mm.
So
Yeah, that's it's interesting because kind of as we were discussing earlier with those two different sets of audiences, I think that there's different monetization options that appeal to the two very differently. So, merch kind of appeals to that core fan base that wants to support and really likes the content. But, I think the kids kind of have the idea of appealing to anybody who's consuming uh, the content. Is that sort of part of your consideration of what you're looking to do next?
yeah, for sure. Like I get like so many emails and messages of people asking like, do you do like commissions? They want to like, buy a web shooter or something. Because, not everybody really has the time or like the patience to make whatever it is I make.
Mm.
And, but they're really huge. Like you said, they're really huge fans, but they're not really crafters. And so I think that's a really big opportunity. I think you're right about that.
Is this something that is sort of in your idea log, or are you getting ready to put things in motion?
I am working with someone to. I'm not even sure how much I can talk about it really, but I am working with
Okay.
someone right now to come out with a web shooter, and I am looking at a few options. There's just so many with apparel. There's so many different like e-commerce. There's like so many different options. So I'm actually like a really huge noob when it comes to that. Like I haven't done anything e-commerce, So I'm still looking, but I'm definitely like actively trying to bring those to motion.
Cool. Well, I'm best of luck with that. The web shooter seems pretty cool. I'll have to pick up a kit for myself. Back to the other aspects we were discussing of your monetization, where you were saying that brand deals often make up 50% or more of your monthly income. And as somebody who only uploads once per month, those are very coveted sponsorship slots. So when a brand is reaching out to you, is there something that you look for in particular? Is there something that brands can do to sort of be on your good side, or to get interest, or you must get more sponsorship offers than the ones that you actually take? So I'd be curious to hear about your decision process of which sponsors you actually choose to go with.
Well, your question about what brands can do to get on my good side, I love when brands are flexible about, you know, how I can integrate. And yeah, I mean, I think I get a lot of mobile games because, you know, like fantasy and that kind of stuff. I like to pick brands that have a product or service that I think is, you know, obviously good. I don't want to, you know, promote something that's bad. Well, I guess that's kind of subjective, but to me personally, like, as long as it's, you know, something that's like reputable, that's good. To be honest, not to be completely honest, like I will endorse products that I don't use, because the way I see it is like a sponsorship is just like the brand is paying you for exposure. So as long as the product is not like scam or like something that's, you know, unethical, I think, and as long as it lines up, you know, with your brand, then I don't see why, you know, you can't, because, you know, some people have this idea that you can't take a sponsorship unless you like use the product or like you're really loyal to the product. But I actually disagree. Like I'm like, as long as the product is reputable and, you know, it aligns with your values, then the brand is paying you for that ad spot. So I just see it as like an exchange of goods, I guess.
I think that that is probably a very common thing that happens. Just that people, for some reason, or not for some reason, but people feel the need to be less honest about their history with certain brands because they want to be coming across as, you know, more genuine. But I do think that when sponsorships come into play, a lot of times I've seen in the past deals that we've helped facilitate where we've introduced creators to certain brands and they've began to use it, and they used it themselves for a week or 2 weeks or a month before the sponsorship. They're like, oh yeah, like you know, other creators I'm watching are sponsored by this. It seems reputable. I enjoyed my experience with it. I do think that that's a very common thing that happens. I think the whole idea that somebody is like a loyal customer to a brand and then they just happen to get sponsored by them one day is not as common as a lot of people would sort of try to make others believe. So yeah, I think that to kind of reiterate one of the questions that was in the big block of questions I gave you was, when you're looking at the different products. So if you have a few that you're looking at for the month as potential sponsors for your videos, you know, since you're only putting out a video a month, you're looking for reputability. You're looking for, I'm assuming that, you know, how much money the brand is offering to is also a large aspect. Do you find yourself, if a brand reaches out to you and do you hope that they make an initial offer to you? Are you okay putting a figure forward yourself? Or how do you like to go about that negotiation process with the brands?
Right now, like for all the brand sponsorships I've done in the past year, I've had someone else handle it for me, like through an agency. So I haven't really done really any negotiating or anything, because that's not really like really my job. And so I've kind of delegated that to kind of agencies.
People like me.
Yeah, exactly. People like you. And so really my job is only to review it and see, is this something I want to do? Is it something I'm interested in? It's not really like a matter of negotiating. It's just like the agency will say, you know, this brand wants to work with you, and then I'll either say yes or no. And it's kind of all streamlined that way. It's not really like, you know, a long process, if that makes sense.
Mm. Do you find yourself working directly with the brands at all, or is it basically entirely through agencies?
All the sponsorships that I've done in the past year have all been done through an agency. So I
Okay.
assume like any sponsorship that I do, I'll rarely ever work directly with the brand. And I think that's because, like, if you try to work with the brand directly, I think brands will know that you might not know what you're worth, or like, so it's I think I prefer to work with through an agency, because then you have someone that knows how to negotiate, that kind of has your best interest, especially if you've built a relationship with them, like I have with this one agency in particular that I work with closely. They go by the name Algebra Media, and I've built a really close relationship with them, and they have my back. They have my best interest. I typically, generally speaking, I don't work with brands directly.
Okay. Yeah, that's great to hear that you've kind of found a group that you're trusting, that you're working with a lot. What have they done with you that sort of enabled that trust to be built over time? Like what is it about them? Because you said you've worked with a handful of different agencies, so what is it about them in particular that has sort of drawn you to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really like that everything is very streamlined. It's like very little work for me. So in that aspect, that's really what I look for when I'm working with an agency. Like I really like when everything is streamlined. They are the ones conversing back and forth with the brand, and all I have to do is just say yes or no, basically. So it's really that simple. It's just.
All right, great. Well, Sean, I really appreciate your time. The insights were extremely interesting, and I'm sure that all businesses will be uh, very thankful to have the insights from you as a creator into the different metrics, into what you're sort of looking for in working with an agency, especially about when agencies are working with brands and trying to advise creators on how to make their content go viral, because every sponsor wants their sponsored content to go viral. Like I said, I really appreciate your time talking and sharing all your insights about this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right, great. Well, thanks again, and good luck with it